सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयामदेवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। So we were in the third Prashna where Kausalya Ashvalayanaha, he asked the question about prana. From where did this prana originate? Then how does it come into this body? Then how does it stay in this body after becoming into fivefold prana? Then how or why does it leave, correct, the body? And then how does this prana support the external world, which is Adhi Bhuta and Adhi Daiva, and also Adhyatma, with reference to the prana which is in the body. How does it support the body and how does it support the external world? These are all the questions. Now for this, where does prana originate means from the Atma only. Even though the prana is Samashti, understand that this is also a Mahavakya really. Because when you talk about Samashti prana and say it has originated from the Atma, it really is what? It is really saying that you are the cause of the
prana,
the totality of whatever is manifest here, right? Because Prajapati or prana only is manifest as the entire Srishti. That's what we saw in the answer to the first Prashna. That being the case, if Atma is the one, the cause, or Atma is the one which gives its very existence to the prana itself, and that Atma means it is not separate from you. Atma is self. But some people may differentiate Paramatma, Jivatma and all that. There is no differentiation like that. Understand that. Whatever you say as I, that I really is the self, and that self transcends space-time. Understand one important thing. When we say I exist, I do not really exist in space-time. That itself is ignorance. If you think that I am an object who exists in this Srishti, I am one of the objects existing in this world which is subjected to space and time, correct? Because you think that spatially you are limited, time-wise you are limited. Those are the fundamental limitations which everybody has taken for granted about oneself. But we have to analyze that and see, because this space-time, whatever you say, if you are in space-time and that is the reality, you should be always in space-time, correct? But that also is not the reality. Because you can create your entire dream space-time and you can do Vyavahara within that, and then that space-time goes away. And when you are cognizing the dream space-time, you are not cognizing the waking space-time. Waking space-time is gone. In deep sleep, there is no space, no time, nothing is there. But I am there, correct? Nobody can deny one's own existence. I am the waker, I am the dreamer, I am the sleeper. In this, waker, dreamer and sleeper are going and coming. Is that not true? Being the waker is transient. Being the dreamer is transient. Being the sleeper is transient. But what is not transient in all these things? I, correct? I is the invariable in all these things. That means I transcends waking, I transcends dream also, I transcends sleep also. In fact, Atma never sleeps. Sleep is only for the mind. and the Indriyas. And waking means the mind is completely awake and the Indriyas are all functioning. Dream means it is half awake. The Indriyas do not function, but mind alone is projecting. So, from all these things, what do we understand? The unchanging reality is that I am a conscious being to whom everything becomes evident. Whether it is the subject-object duality in waking, or subject-object duality in dream, or ignorance, complete ignorance in sleep, correct? Because while sleeping, the subject-object itself resolves. There is no subject-object duality. And there is no mind for you to cognize anything because mind also has resolved. But I am still there as a conscious entity. That's why you are able to say that I did not know anything. You want to say I did not know anything, you should have been a conscious entity at that time. So, I as existence, I am not really in space-time. Understand that. Space-time is in me. That is the reality. That's what you have to appreciate about your own existence. If you think that you are in space-time means you are doomed. That thought itself, in fact, as soon as you wake up and identify as an individual, you are doomed. That itself is ignorance really, because like I told you, the individuality is something which comes and goes. It's not intrinsic to you. It's not your very nature. So the Atma we are talking about here is not the small puny Atma. It is the conscious being which is limitless. So there is even in other Upanishads and all we say, correct, Mayyeva Sakalam Jatam, Mayi Sarvam Pratishtitam, Mayi Sarvam Layam Yati, Tat Brahma Dvayam Asmi Aham. So like that, everything is born from me, everything is sustained by me, and everything resolves back into me. That me is not an individual conscious entity. That me is the Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. That's what we say. That Atma is the cause of everything. When you look at it from the standpoint of the effect, that also we have to put provisionally, because whenever we are talking about the world, we have to look upon the Atma as the cause of the world. But then, why do we even talk about cause and effect? Only to show that the effect is mithya. Effect really does not count, because effect is only name and form. Effect does not have any reality of its own. That's why the Upanishad immediately gives the example of Chaya and Purusha. So Purusha is like Brahman, Atma. That alone is real. Chaya is not really there. Like that, here even though we talk about Prana or Maya, Shakti and all that, you can talk about Maya only from the standpoint of Maya. From the standpoint of Brahman, there is no Maya. That is very important to understand. So the first two questions were answered in the third Vakya here, one which says that Atmanaha Yeshaha Pranaha Jayate. That is the first question answered. Then Manokritena Ayati Asmin Sharire. So why does it enter this Sharira means karma. Because the sankalpa in your mind to do things itself is there because you have kama. And kama itself is there because you think you are a wanting being. And why do you think you are a wanting being? Because you are identifying with the body, mind, sense complex. That why do you do that identification? Means that is because of avidya. Okay, you don't know your reality. So whatever is an object is an anatma. On that you have self-identity. Whatever is not self, on that you are having self-identity. That is one of the first things you have to really ram it into yourself. Okay, what is that? Whatever I see is not I. That's all you have to do. Only Vedanta sadhana you have to do constantly is what? Whatever I know cannot be I. It includes everything. Then next one, Yatha Samradeva Adhikritan Viniyunkta Yetan Graman Aditishthasva Ityevam Yesha Pranaha Itaran Pranan Prithak Prithageva Sannidhatte. So now, how does this prana become fivefold and stay in the body, correct? That question is being answered. So like even a king, Yatha Samrat, correct? So Samrat means Raja, like a king in the world. How does the king rule? King does not go to each and every village and rule, correct? He simply appoints different officers, you can say, administrative people or ministers. Like even Prime Minister is there. Prime Minister does not do everything. Prime Minister has a council of ministers who take care of things. So he distributes the administrative rights to the ministers like that, and tells them, here Upanishad says, you go to each grama, you stay there and govern, correct? Aditishtasva means you govern, you stay and govern there, administer that village. Like that, prana also, the mukhya prana we say, becomes all these five pranas, correct? And then the mukhya prana has now delegated the functions, the different functions to keep this body together, to these five prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. In that mukhya prana itself is still prana. It is like the Prime Minister still keeps some portfolios with himself or herself, correct? Like that. So that also we will see. So the prana has distributed all these functions, and they all then stay in different places in the body and do whatever they are supposed to do, their functions. Now, in fact, in this Upanishad only, the different prana functions are all talked about, interestingly. So, first apana is being talked about in the next vakya. Payupasthe apanam chakshusrotre mukhanasika pranaha swayam pratisthate madhye tu samanaha. So now three things are being talked about. First is apana. So apana, I told you that it is excretion, okay, and even reproductive functions are all apana. So payupasthe apanam. So apana stays there and does its function. Then the mukhya prana itself has its own portfolio, like I said, like Prime Minister is having. So that is the one which is actually the breath which you take through your nose, but that breath only also helps the function of the eyes and the ears. Ear, nose, throat are all connected anyway, correct? That's why we have ENT specialist, I think. So in these three, pranaha swayam pratisthate. So pratisthate means pratitishthati only, Bhashyakara says. Meaning, so prana stays there and then takes care of the functionality of these indriyas there. And then madhye tu samanaha means in the middle, between the prana and apana, in the nabhi. So the samana is there in your navel only, correct? Within the stomach, we have to say, because it is connected with digestion. So the digestive power is samanaha. So it is there in the nabhi, and whatever you eat and drink, in fact the Upanishad itself says samam nayati. Correct. Next is, it says yeshahi etad hutam annam samam nayati. See the word which the Upanishad is using. It's not saying whatever you eat or drink. Instead it is saying hutam. Hutam comes from the same dhatu where homa also we say, correct? Ahuti and all that, correct? All the same dhatu. Who? From that only Homa means basically whatever you eat is really an offering or an oblation to the prana, which is the Agni, correct? That's why we say eating is Prana-Agni-hotram, we say. Eating is for us Prana-Agni-hotram. Don't think that you are eating. You are actually offering it to the prana, the Vaishvanara Agni, which is there in your body, because Bhagavan himself has said that Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashritaha. So, this Samana takes the Anna which is offered as in the Pranagni Hotram, and then it equally distributes everything, correct? Samam Nayati. It distributes it to all the organs. That's why your body is able to sustain, correct? And it nourishes. That's why it is called Samana. Samam Nayati iti Samana. The Upanishad itself says beautifully. And in fact, because of this offering of food, it seems that whatever the Vaishvanara Agni is there, it is burning with 7 flames, 7 luminous flames. This Sapta Archishaha. In fact, this Sapta Archishaha comes in Mundaka Upanishad also. Even that day we saw that Ekarishi Agni and all, it is talked about in the Mundaka also, because both are complementary Upanishads from the same Atharva Veda, correct? So there also it talks about it even names Kali, Karali and all that. In the Mundaka Upanishad, the 7 flames are named, of Agni are named like that. But here, when we talk about the 7 flames which are luminous, what Bhashyakara says is, they are all they represents the power of the Indriya, because whatever food you put into your stomach is like the Indha, is the fuel to the fire which is there. Then the fire is flaming up, and that in that bright flames, because of that only your Indriyas get the power to function. And what are those 7? Because in the face we have 7 apertures, correct? 2 eyes, 2 nose, 2 ears and 1 mouth. In this all the Indriyas are covered, because with the tongue, taste also is covered, touch also is covered, walk also is covered. In fact, even Karmendriya is covered. So tongue is unique that way. So in these 7 places only the fire from the food is going, and then makes them all, like even the engine is functioning because of the ignition, correct? We have internal combustion engine like that. Here this is also like that. There is a combustion and 7 luminous flames come up and make sure that all your Indriyas are all functioning. That's why you are able to see here, okay, all the different sense objects. Now continuing, Hridi Hyesha Atma Atra Etad Ekashatam Nadinam Tasam Shatam Ekaikasyaha Dvasaptatihi Pratishakan Nadi Sahasrani Bhavanti Asu Vyanascharati. So now already we saw Apana, Prana and Samana. Okay. Now we are going to see about Vyana. This entire Vakya is about Vyana. Vyana means circulation, we said, correct? Because Samana is digesting, but still you require the circulation to distribute to the everywhere in the body. But then where does this distribution center start? Means it starts in the Hridaya. Okay. So Hridyesha Atma. Here the Atma, Bhashyakara says, is Lingatma or Jivatma, because we are talking about with reference to a particular body and a particular Hridaya, correct? Hridaya Akasha we say. So Bhashyakara even says like that inverted lotus is what is typically given as the imagery for heart. Okay, Pundari Kakara Mamsa Pinda Parichinne, like that Bhashyakara says Hridi means in the lotus shaped form of muscle, correct? That mamsa, flesh. Within that, only that whatever Hridaya Akasha is there, and in that only we say that Buddhi. Actually, Hridaya Akasha is where Buddhi is. Because the word Hridaya in other Upanishads also means Bhashyakara always translates it as Buddhi. The intellect is there, and Buddhi is the closest to Atma. Because that is where the Buddhi is also called Vijnana Mayaha or Vijnana Prayaha, means it is the one which is aware, correct? The awareness, when we say the object awareness of the objective world and all that is there only because of the Buddhi, and is as consciousness it is the closest to Atma because that's where consciousness first manifests in the different upadhis, if we say. So that is why he says Lingatma means it is the one which indicates this consciousness is there, because in Buddhi only consciousness manifests. It is like the light is there. In vacuum you cannot see light, we say, correct? To see the light you require a reflecting medium. Like that consciousness is there everywhere. But where do you recognize it? Upalabdhi sthanam is only Buddhi. And because the consciousness is available in the Buddhi, it itself is called Vijnana Mayaha, because it is as though conscious, correct? It is as though consciousness or conscious, because consciousness is manifesting there, and that itself, that Buddhi itself becomes a linga for understanding the consciousness. And in that Hridaya, there are 101 main nadis are there. Now, how do we even translate this nadi? We don't know. In different English books, they put different words. They put sometimes neurons or veins and artery or blood vessel and all that. We don't know, really speaking, what it is. But nadi is nadi. In our system, we talk about nadi, which is starting, this 101 nadi start from the Hridaya first. Then each of them further branch into 100 more. That's what it is saying, okay? So, shatam ekaikasyaha. So, this first it is saying what? Ekashatam nadinam. So, there is 101 nadis which are branching out from the Hridaya. Then each of them have another 100 branches. And then each of those 100 further have 72,000 branches, sub-branches, okay? So totally some 727 million plus nadis are there in our body. No, whether it can be correlated with nerves and all that, I don't know. I don't know how many nerves our modern scientists say are there in the body. So whether it is nerve or not, we do talk about nadi here. Okay. In that what? This Vyana moves around in these nadis. That is the idea, correct? Vyanas charati. Okay, amongst this, the Vyana is moving. So, asu nadishu Vyanas charati. So, amongst these or in these nadis only, the Vyana is moving. And because of that, it now pervades the entire body. And Bhashyakara puts an interesting note here. He says, Sandhiskandha marma desheshu visheshena pranapana vrityoscha madhye udbhuta vritti viryavat karma karta bhavati. So the Vyana does special activity with strength, or it is specially active in some areas. Like that Bhashyakara is saying. Okay, where in the joints, because you are able to move in the joints, correct? For that Vyana has to move. Then only your joints are also moving. Like that he is saying. Joints, sandhi, and even shoulder, skandha, and marma desheshu means other internal organs. Okay, there all, and also in between, the place in between wherever prana and apana are active, that means here in the torso. Okay, in all these places the Vyana is specially active. Okay, Viryavat karma karta it is, means it is doing powerful action, especially. Okay, so Vyana also we have covered. Then finally what? Udana. Udana's function is being talked about. Atha eka, ekaya urdhvaha udanaha. Okay, punyena punyam lokam nayati, papena papam ubhabhyam eva manushya lokam. Okay, the udana is associated with the going away of the prana itself, correct? At the time of death, or any other activity where you throw up things. But now here, this utkramanam we say, correct? And here Bhashyakara also brings the nadi again, because the udana also, even when it goes out, it has to go through the nadi. Okay, and amongst the 101 nadis, there is a special nadi called Sushumna. Correct? Sushumna only, through that the udana goes. But even there, what do they say? When the udana goes out, from which chakra it goes out? Because there are sapta chakras are all there, we talk about. But for a sannyasi, it has to go through the Brahmarandra, they say. That's why Pujya Swamiji used to joke that whenever a sannyasi dies, they'll break a coconut on his head and say that now it has gone through the udana has gone through the Brahmarandra. Okay. But anyway, when the udana is active at the time of death, how does the udana then take another body? Because the udana is basically withdrawing everything from this body and then taking it away, correct? Then how does it go and again get established in another body? What is the basis for that? Means punyena punyam lokam nayati. Correct? So if you have done lot of punya, and not only that, it also depends on your thought process at that time. That also will come later. We will see that. And it is talked about in the Gita 8th chapter also. But here in general, what do we say? If you have done lot of punya in this life, and if you have had good samskaras, then the next life will be in a punya loka, like Devadi loka. Or if you have done lot of papa, then you are going to go into naraka. Okay, or you will be born as animals and all that, where you are only doing papakshaya. When both are mixed, so Upanishad itself topic is talking here, correct? Ubhabhyam eva manushya lokam. So when both papa and punya are there, then you are born as a human being. But even there, I think, to be born in India and in our culture, you should have special punya. Okay, Swamiji used to say even cows born in India have special punya rather than getting born somewhere else. So here, if papa and punya are there mixed equally, then you are a human being. So every human being has both papa and punya. That's why every day you have to do nitya karma. Understand? Every day in the sankalpa, what do we say? Mama upata durita kshaya dwara. Because every day your prarabdha is exhausting. In fact, Bhagavan has already fixed every day what prarabdha you have to undergo. That means in that both punya and papa are there. But then what do you do every day? That's why you have to do every day nitya karma. Nitya karma means every day doing something every day. Because every day papa punya is fructifying. Every day you want to neutralize the papa and enhance the punya, let us say, correct? So that's why Nitya Karma is very important. Nityam you have to do Panchamahayajna. That is the main thing, correct? For us, Panchamahayajna is the essence of our dharma. Because we even talk about the Rina, correct? We talk about the debt which we are owing to our rishis, our devatas, our ancestors, then other human beings, and then also even animals. All 5 rinas are there, so you have to be grateful to all these people. So a life of gratitude means you will also have a happy life. When do you feel sad, sorrowful, or like a victim? In fact, modern society is only brewing victimhood for everybody. If you have gratitude, you cannot be a victim, correct? And our culture is all about feeling gratitude each and every day. You have to have gratitude towards the devatas. You have to have gratitude towards your rishis for all the knowledge they have given. Devatas functioning only, you even get rain. All the seasons are there. Everything, whatever the phenomenon which is happening around you, which is keeping this world in a certain order, is all the functioning of the devatas. And if you do not offer them and still consume, Bhagavan says you are a thief, correct? In the 3rd chapter, Gita, Bhagavan very clearly says, Yo bhungte stena eva saha, like that he says, correct? Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu vaha parasparam bhavayantaha shreyah paramavapsyatha ishtan bhogan hi vo devaha dasyante yajna bhavitaha tairdattana pradayebhyaha yo bhungte stena eva saha, like that. So it seems Prajapati created Sahejna Prajasritva Purovacha Prajapatihi Anena Prasavishyadvam Yesavostushta Kamadhuk, like that. He created the Praja, the beings, and also the Yajna. Along with the Praja, he has created the Yajna. And what did he say? Using this Yajna, you propitiate the Devas. In turn, they will bless you. So, Parasparam Bhavayantaha, he says. You have to take care of each other mutually. Because everybody is mutually dependent. In fact, creation means, first thing we have to understand is what? We are all interdependent. We are all mutually dependent on each other. Same thing is consumer and also consumed. Okay. That is what is called Madhu also. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, whatever is interdependent is called as Madhu. And there is a Madhu Vidya, Madhu Brahmanam is there. And there what it teaches, it says wherever there is interdependency, there has to be a 3rd factor which is independent. Because without that independent factor, this interdependence could not have been created, or it wouldn't have come into existence, correct? Like even let us say, human body is there. What is the catch-22 in the human body? Your heart has to beat. For the heart to beat also, blood has to flow. But unless the blood flows, heart will not beat. So then how did the heart start beating in the child's body? Means the mother has to start it, correct? It has to have started from the mother's body. Mother's heart is anyway beating. With that, initially the blood flows. And then once the other heart starts beating, now the circulation is happening by itself, correct? So anything interdependent like that, or a catch-22 like we say in English, correct? A is dependent on B, B is dependent on A, means there has to be a C which is independent of both of them. And that is Brahman. Like that is the teaching there. Brahman is the independent reality which is the source of this entire creation. And in creation, everything is interdependent. Everything is Madhu. Whatever you take. Anyway, so here we have to understand that we are all owing debt to all these different beings, whether it is human being or devas or rishis or pitras or other animals, and we have to have gratitude. You have to act out. Just having gratitude is not good enough. Correct? So that is the Panchamaha Yajna. And doing that means you are now gaining punya also. But mumukshu, for a mumukshu, even that has to be nishkama karma. That is the important thing. Okay, continuing. So now, this with the udana and the also this punyena punyam lokam nayati and all, how does this prana go out also is somewhat answered here. Okay. Now we are coming to the how does it support the external world, correct? That's what was asked before. So that is being answered. Adityaha havai bahyaha pranaha udayati. So the bahyaha pranaha, the external prana, what is that? Aditya, sun is the prana in external world. We already said that the sun rises and its kiranas go and it pervades everything and activates the prana in each and every body, correct? So in the external world, the prana is the one which is rising as the sun. Okay. And from there what? That sun's rays reach the eyes in the adhyatma, correct? Because bahya, we are talking about, there is a adhi daiva aspect which is aditya. Then the kiranas are all coming. There the adhibhuta is there. Then it enters the adhyatma, the eyes. That also is said here. Yesha hi yenam chakshusham pranam anugrinhanaha. So the rays of the sun goes through your eyes, then it blesses the prana which is there in the eye, and so that the eyes start functioning. So because of that only the eyes are luminous and they are able to discern whatever they are discerning, the sense objects they are able to reveal. Then interestingly, Prithivyam ya devata saisha purushasya apanam avashtabhya. So now external prana we talked about. Now external apana. Apana is the force which is pulling you down, correct? Now for that what it is saying? The devata which is there in the Prithivi, that is the one which is drawing this apana in the human body also. The apana, the force which is taking things down, that is due to the blessings of the Prithivi devata, which is the one which is supporting the apana's functionality in the adhyatma, in the body. There Bhashyakara is writing very interesting bhashya. He is actually talking about the gravitational force of the earth. He says tatha prithivyam abhimanini ya devata prasiddha. So whatever the devata who is identifying with the earth as its own body, that Prithivi devata, saisha purushasya apanam apana vrittim avashtabhya akrishya vashikritya adaha eva apakarshanena anugraham kurvati vartata ityarthaha. So what Bhashyakara says, the Upanishad is saying avashtabhya, correct? For that what is the meaning he is giving? This Prithivi devata only, in the body the apana vritti, whatever the activity of the apana, how does it do that activity? By attraction, he says. Akrishya. The Prithivi has the force of attraction. Okay, Akrishya means he says Vashikritya. So it has this attraction, and because of which it is able to pull it down, it is saying. And that's how it is doing the anugraha. The Prithivi devata is doing its blessing to the apana in the body by helping it to pull everything down. Okay. And here Bhashyakara, another sentence he is saying very interesting. Otherwise, if this Prithivi does not have this force of attraction, what will happen? saying anyata hi shariram gurutvat patet savakashe va udgachet. So otherwise what will happen? We will not be even able to stand, he is saying. Either you will fall down or you will just fly away. Okay? Like we see how the astronauts and all walk on the moon, correct? Where the gravity is low. If the Akarshana Shakti is not there, then you cannot do your regular Vyavahara. Either you will fall, you will not have any balance, or you will just float and you will go away like in space. So he is saying so clearly about the gravitational force of the Prithvi. Then Antara Yadakashaha Saha Samanaha. So in between whatever Akasha is there, that is Samana. Even in the human body, the space in between, correct? Prana and Apana, that is space which is there in your stomach and the digestive tract, that is where Samana is active. Similarly here also another interesting thing he says is, even though Akasha is said to be Samana, Akasha itself is not Samana. He says whatever is the Vayu which is there in that Akasha, in between Akasha only is Samana. For that he is giving an analogy of Manchasthavat. So sometimes we say, or even in regular language we say, correct? The lorry came overtaking the car, let us say. The lorry cannot overtake by itself, or the car cannot overtake the bus. It is actually the driver who is there, correct? When you talk about something, whoever is there in that meaning you can talk. Similarly, here even though Akasha is only there, but Akashastha Vayu is the actual meaning. Like even that whoever the driver who is there in the car only we refer to as car, or we refer to bus simply. But basically the driver in the bus is the one who is doing the activity. We refer to the driver like that. Similarly here also, even though only Akasha is there, he is saying tatstaha vayuhu akasha uchyate manchasthavat, like that. Bhashyakara makes this point here. Then so that is Samana, and we can also relate it to the body in the similar manner. Then similarly, finally simply Vayuhu Vyanaha. All other Vayu which is there in general, correct? It is all Vyana, because like Vyana is all pervasive in the body. Vayu in general is pervading everywhere. Here, that is Vyana. So he says Vyapti Samanya. So there is a Samanya is establishing between the Adhyatma and the whatever the Bahya. Now, next is what? Tejo havava udanaha tasmat upashanta tejaha punar bhavam indriyaihi manasai sampadyamanaihi. So the external udana now finally we have to talk about, correct? Prana, apana, samana, vyana we have talked about already. Prana, apana, vyana, samana is done. Bahya. Now bahya udana is what means? Bahya udana is tejas. Means tejas here means agni we have to take. Okay, tejas has both the brightness aspect and the heat aspect. And we say udana is the one which gives the heat in the body. That's how we look at it. Because a dead body will become cold, correct? For the body to be alive, it has to maintain the temperature, and that is associated with the udana. That's why even in the external world also, tejas is the udana. Okay, so tejaha havava udanaha. And then it says tasmad upashanta tejaha. Because of that only, even when a person is dying, then the temperature is not maintained properly in the body, correct? The tejas in the body is now becoming upashanta, means what? It is becoming dull. let us say. Okay. So at the time of dying, the indriyas and all stop working, and only prana is active, and then it is ready to leave, go away. And when it leaves, then what happens? Punarbhavam indriyaihi manasi sampadyamanaihi. So once this udana becomes shanta, and then what? He is about to die, and at that time now he has to gain another body, correct? Punarbhavam means he has to take another janma. And how does it happen? So indriyaihi, this is saha tritiya, indriyaihi saha. So along with the indriyas, everything merges into the manas. Okay, manasi sampadyamanaihi. Then all of them then merge into prana, and then the prana only goes to the other body. That's what we saw. So that's what it is said here also again. All the indriyas merge in the heart, like that we say. It goes to the heart, and from there only again everything merges into one prana. Then it goes out through the sushumna. Okay. Now, so with this I think mostly the questions have been answered, but still they continue. Certain details are given here. So continuing, yat chittaha tenaisha pranamayati pranas tejasa yuktaha saha atmana yatha sankalpitam lokam nayati. So this is what I said. Some more details are given. How do you get your next birth? Because previously we talked about that it has to take another birth. On what basis the next birth is happening? Okay. Means at the time of death. Okay, marana kale we have to add here. Yat chittaha tenaisha pranamayati, means whatever bhava or thoughts you have at the time of dying, based on that only this prana is now going to take you, it seems, to the next birth. Okay. Pranamayati. With the tenaisha, means based on that. But then intelligent guy will say, okay, I will do whatever I want to do during my life, but at the time of death I am going to think something nice to get another birth. Means it will not happen. Why? In fact, during normal life only you are not able to think whatever you want to think, correct? Some things are coming in the mind. Most people are not consciously thinking. In fact, nowadays it is even worse. They are all just going to some social media, going through reels and things like that. They are like zombies. Means only whatever samskara is there, the thoughts are all just coming from your pura samskaras only, correct? That's not good. For a Vedantin, it should be, you should have conscious thoughts. Then only you can do nididhyasanam. Understand that. Nididhyasanam is possible only if you are able to consciously think about your own reality. Otherwise, the habitual tendency will only take you back into ignorance. So, as a Vedantin, what is the most important thing for me? It is not to wallow in whatever samskara generated thoughts. In fact, you have to keep reducing that as much as possible. That is the important. That's why even this, any japa and all is why it is important. Because when you do japa, you have to do an auto suggestion and say that I am only going to now mentally also chant a particular mantra. Let us say you have already decided so many times I am going to do, means you have to do that. But initially what mind will still go here and there. But dhyana itself is what? Is bringing that mind back to whatever you decided already. That is also part of dhyana, in fact. But as you do more and more japam and dhyanam, your mind, wandering of your mind also should reduce. Means consciously whatever you want to think, you should be able to hold on to that. That is what is called dharana. Correct? You have to be able to pratyahara and dharana and dhyana, we say, correct? 3 steps are there. Pratyahara means what? You withdraw from external sense objects and all that. Okay, that you can do. You go and sit somewhere. In fact, some people even do things like this. They will close their eyes and even ears, and they used to have support so that your otherwise this arm will, you cannot hold it for a long time, correct? So they will have two danda here. Physically they will close their eyes and ears also, so that you don't hear unnecessary sounds, and then they will do japa. That is like forced pratyahara. Okay. But still you have to, mind can still run. But that only will come through abhyasa. That's why the abhyasa is very important. Abhyasa and vairagya. If you don't have vairagya, you will not be able to focus on what you want to focus, correct? But otherwise your mind is still going to some sense objects only. You may be sitting somewhere, but you are still thinking of something else. No use if you are like that. That is only mithyachara, like that Bhagavan says, even in the Gita, correct? So this ability to consciously think is very important for a Vedanta student. And whatever samskaras you have generated throughout your life, at the time of death you don't have any free will. Understand that. Already your indriyas are all collapsing, and your mind also is not going to function. So whatever pradhana samskara is there, along that only you will go. And based on that only because the prarabdha karma has to have some basis, correct? On what basis Bhagavan is allocating prarabdha karma means based on whatever is your last thought. In fact, he says that in the 8th chapter, correct? Antakalecha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yaf prayati samadbhavam yati natyatra samshayaha. Then he says yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tameveti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitaha. He first says, even at the time of death you think of me, then definitely you will reach me, he says. And even anybody else also, whatever they think at the time of death, there only they will go. Like that. Then that's why he says, again he says, so always think of me and then do this, whatever you are doing. Even the war, while doing battle also, you always have me in your thoughts. So that is the thing here. So pranamayati pranas tejasa yuktaha saha atmana yatha sankalpitam lokam nayati. So here tejasa means, already we said tejas is udana, correct? Previously. So that's what at the time of death the prana now is along with the udana. Basically it is udana is the pradhana prana at the time of death. So being connected with udana and saha atmana, it is said here, correct? Means the jiva, the bhokta. Here the atma again is the jivatma only. So the prana,
sukshma sharir,
correct, the sukshma shariram, and the jiva is basically the conscious entity who is manifest in that sukshma shariram. So along with that, the vijnanamayaha yatha sankalpitam lokam nayati, means whatever loka you are desiring to go, means it is not like conscious desire at that time. That's what we have to understand. Okay, it is based on your own punya papa karma only, that desire also will come, and based on that it will take you to the whichever loka you are supposed to go. Lokam nayati prapayati, it makes you attain that loka. So now up to this you can say the answers and all were given. Now the next two vakyas are there. We will see that also, so that we will finish this third Prashna. Here the prana upasana is talked about finally. Because why do we even talk about all these details about prana? First we praise the prana. Now we are talking about all the biography, the entire biography of the prana. All that why do we talk? Because you become a prana upasaka. Prana upasaka means prana rupa hiranyagarbha upasaka, correct? Or prana rupa sagunam brahma upasana only we are talking about here. So the Upanishad now says ya evam vidvan pranam veda. So in this manner, the Vidwan means here Upasaka. And Pranam Veda means it is not knowing prana, it is prana upasana only it is being talked about. Upasya we have to take. Veda means upasya. So in this manner, the upasaka, in the manner which was described in the previous chapter and this chapter, doing upasana of prana, what is the phala then? Correct? Means the phala is said here. First, ihaloka phala, then amutra phala. Correct? The whatever result you will get here in this world, then hereafter also. And in this world, what? Nahasya prajahiyate means for this upasaka, son, grandson, like that, his lineage will not end. Okay, it will not come to an end. It will continue. His lineage will continue. He will have sons, grandsons, like that. His kula will be avichinna. It will not come to an end. It will not break. He will have an unbroken lineage. Family will keep on going. Then later on, amutra. Hereafter what? Amritaha bhavati means even if you go to the Swargaloka or Brahmaloka, we have to say in this case, either he lives for a very long time, Amritaha can be taken like that, or he gains knowledge there and becomes Mukta Purusha. Then it is Amritaha. He doesn't come back anymore. He becomes immortal. So that is the meaning here, and this is again said in a mantra. Tad yesha shlokaha is there. Okay, this Brahmana is actually quoting a rig here. What is that? Utpattim ayatim sthanam vibhutvam chaiva panchadha adhyatmam chaiva pranasya vijñāya amritam iti. So here the vijñāya amritam ashnute is repeated. That means any repetition like that in an oral tradition means that this is the end of the section or end of a text, like that we take. So having known this vijñāya, this upasaka attains amritatvam, immortality. Knowing what? In fact, the answer for the questions which were asked, only knowing that only it is saying. What are those things? Utpattim ayatim means the upasaka knows the utpatti of the prana, from where it is born. Correct? That's what the question was asked. It is born from this Atma alone. Okay. And that again, how does it come into this body? Due to karma. And then again it is there. How it is staying in this body and how it becomes fivefold and supports this body. Okay, that is the and also it is the Swami, correct? It is like the master. Vibhutvam means Swamitvam here. It is like a king which then sends the five different ministers to make all the organs function correctly and administer them. Okay. So that is the Vibhutvam here, Panchada, Sthanam. And then one knows in this manner whatever is happening with reference to in one's own body, but not only that. You have to know outside also. In the outside, the same prana is there in the form of Aditya, in the form of Prithvi, like that we saw. Correct? Outside also. And then the different Vayus, Samana and Udana are all Vayu. Sorry, Samana and Vyana are Vayu. And Udana is Agni, the Tejas. So one who does Upasana like that with reference to oneself and visualizes prana in the external world also in this manner, that person doing Upasana. Vijñāya here is knowing and doing Upasana. That is the main thing. Amritam Ashnute. He gains immortality, and with this question has been answered. So we'll see the Chaturtha Prashna in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.